Oh boy. Oh boy. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB. This is my 31 days of horror movie reviews, and my previous video, I couldn't have been more positive about The Descent. Well, there's a sequel called The Descent Part 2. This movie came out in 2009, so 4 years after the first one, and this time it's directed by John Harris, and they fucked it up. Your first mistake is making the sequel at all. There was no reason to make the sequel. I know that if it made money, what's the studio going to do? They're going to find every single possible way, any possible way to make the sequel happen, so alright, fine. But what do we do? At the beginning of this movie, if you don't go with the ending of the director's cut, you see that Sarah made it out of the caves. She's the lone survivor, and then she winds up in the hospital here. And, of course, she forgets everything! What? She forgets everything. She has no memory of anything. So when cops and sheriff and everyone's asking her, what happened to your friends, what happened to these other women, where are they? Maybe she did something to them, maybe they're still trapped wherever they are, and Sarah doesn't remember this. So of course, what do? They all go back to the cave, and then all hell breaks loose because, well, the crawlers are down there. This plot itself is lazy. It's lazy in so many ways. First of all, you have Sarah with the amnesia storyline. Come on, this is a character that's already been through some traumatic stuff in the first movie especially. She's already been low. She's already been tortured and kept to herself. So I didn't want to see that all over again, really. And I didn't want to see her just go through the typical amnesia stuff. I mean, there's no characterization to that at all. She's just left for like most of this movie, the first half or so, of being somebody who's unemotional, non-attached, unaware of everything. Maybe they just felt like, hey, this is a quick and easy way to get her, especially, back into the caves and have it make sense, because why else would she want to go back there after what happened to her? But there's a better way to do it. After what happened to her in the first movie, hey, how about she takes that and she becomes a strong character? She becomes Ripley, right? In the sequel, she's a badass. Stay away from her, you bitch. We could have had Sarah go through a growth, go through a strength. Sure, they give a little bit of that to her near the end of the movie, but it's too little, too late for me. It's a waste of this character. It's a waste of this actress, especially what they do with her much later on in the movie. Wow. What the actual fuck? So, all these other characters, the sheriff and the cops, I mean, the big thing about the first movie too, which I didn't mention too much because I didn't want it to be all about that, but I am, and I was very impressed that the whole cast of the first movie were women. Because at the time, it was different. Nowadays, you see women empowerment in movies, and you see that Hollywood's trying to push that agenda for some people too much. I'm okay with it, but I love that that movie did it in a time where nobody was doing that, and it didn't make it a big deal. It just was. They just were all women, and there you go. So I like that. This time, you have these characters that you don't care about, that there's no attachment to, whatever. I just didn't care really about anyone. And of course, as they're in the cave, you have some beats repeated, the claustrophobia and stuff. Like, there's some creepy moments with that, but it just isn't made as well. It's not as impactful. It's not as scary. Look, there's some creepy moments. There's some stuff in the dark. There's some, there's some of that stuff that they hit again. But there's something about the first movie with the fear of the unknown, the whole you don't know how far it's going to go. Even when I rewatch it, I still get that feeling because we're with those characters and they don't know what's going to happen. These characters just come off more dumb this time around. So I lost that connection. I lost that care. And the crawlers, this movie, I guess they felt like, since it's the sequel, let's show more of the crawlers, because we already did the whole less is more thing in the first movie, and when you show more of them, I'm not saying that the effects look terrible, but they don't look nearly as good. And again, I don't know if it's because they just went cheaper this time. The makeup just isn't as good this time. Or maybe we're seeing too much of them this time around, and that's just how they look. And they were never meant to be shown that much. Because, look, they're still creepy, they're still intense, they're still what they are, but it's not nearly as effective. Natalie Mendoza, who played Juno in the first film, we thought she was left for dead by Sarah, and you could argue that that was a messed up move by Sarah. I can understand that. To find out that the Juno character survived, her return, her reemergence is so badass that whatever messed up thing she did, she slept with the husband, she ruined the marriage, yada 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 yada, screwed over her best friend. Yes, messed up, but you can't help but like this character, seeing that she's been surviving by herself in this cave, fighting off creatures, being that badass that I wanted Sarah to be more like. She became my favorite character, Juno. I mean, I loved what I saw with her, and her too gets ruined. There's a nice moment with her and Sarah where like they still don't like each other, and she blames her for leaving her down there, but then they decide to work together. And you thought that could have turned into something. You thought that could have created a mutual bond or reignited their friendship. No, I'm just going to spoil and say that both of them die. Juno just gets scratched up because she's trying to protect other people, and then she just gets killed. What the fuck? Why? Like, we just established that she did this all on her own for all that time, and she just dies like that. And then Sarah sacrifices herself for another character, and horrible, horrible, horrible. I hated those two moments. I hated those two deaths. I hated if I didn't already dislike this movie, those two moments made me hate this piece of shit. And then let's get to the ending though. Because the ending is we see the deputy character who's been down there. She's the one that Sarah risked her life for. And so she's escaping. As she gets out of the cave, she gets attacked by this dude that we met earlier in the movie, who apparently there's this thing going around in this town where they must know about these creatures and they maybe keep them happy and feed them people or do something, or they don't want it to get out that these characters exist. I don't know. It's dumb. It doesn't really make any sense, especially because, well, we saw that Sarah escaped and nobody hit her, attacked her, and put her away. So why is this guy all of a sudden attacking the deputy? Or if it's not that, and if it's just a matter of convenience, then it's dumb. It's dumb. It's cliched. It's lazy. It's been there, done that. You've seen that 1,000 times. I'm glad they didn't make another one after this, because they turned what was one of the scariest movies I've ever seen of all time into a tired, cliched sequel that, man, I don't own it, so I have no interest in seeing it again. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below. Am I being too harsh on The Descent Part 2, or do you agree that it was such a waste of time, such a missed opportunity, such a disappointment? At least that's what I think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later. Souls taken over by a devilish path. You got me walking on broken glass. Kicking down the door with a Jason mask, with a deck don't machete, but you motherfuckers know it's heavy. Anytime you're ready, you can get you with a Bowie. Setting up to blow me, but the bitch don't know me. Who's going? I'm going. You know, I know that the man in the mirror is my next rival. Time goes and I never felt it moving so fast. Staring at the world from the end of my glass. Turned into a dark place, severed my brain. I done dropped out of class, but I made you.